Hello and welcome to the next devlog video of many countries. To introduce this devlog, I want to mention that the channel is really close to 1000 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. And as it should be, I want to give you something in return. Moreover, I worked a lot on the road system and connections of the different buildings, and it's now possible to remove buildings and connections. Let's start the video after the intro. By the end of 2019, I had 105 subscribers on this channel. And now, 6 months later, after releasing 10 videos, we are very close to 1000 subscribers. This is a very special number, and as a special thanks, I will prepare a release of an open alpha version of Mini Countries as soon as we hit the 1K subscribers. I will start creating a new page on itch.io and make the alpha level you can see in the background accessible for everyone. Of course, it should also be used to get more feedback to constantly improve the game, so it's a good product in the end. So share this video on Twitter using the general indie dev and game dev hashtags, or retweet the Twitter post of this devlog video so we reach the goal as soon as possible. As you all know, I'm reading all of your comments below the devlog videos, so did I in the last episode. Ilmari Sipola wrote that the roads look quite strange and big, and yeah, he was definitely right, so I started working on a new way to display the roads. By the way, I've also worked on the Steam page. I updated the description, the general look. Next I will update the screenshots, and there will also be a final trailer, but therefore I need to prepare a few things. As always, a small hint that many countries can already be wishlisted, so please think about doing it. This would really help to bring many countries a bit more attention. The previous implementation of the road system was using line renderer components as a layer above the hex tiles. It worked quite well, but it was quite hard to see whether buildings are connected with each other or not. That's a problem which is not possible to solve in this project setup, but I think I found a great solution which I will now show you. What I wanted to do was integrating the roads within the hex tile mesh. In the meantime, I think that this is still a bit too complicated, but the new system also works with the possible concept of assigning textures to the hex tile surface. So first I updated the hex tile mesh, so I'm able to assign materials to different road faces. And after that I updated the hex tile script to support the new mesh, and I set up a bit mask for the roads using flags in my road type enumeration. A hex tile can have roads in all 6 directions. So in a bit mask, northwest has a value of 1, northeast a value of 2, east a value of 4, and so on. For example, to set up a horizontal road from west to east, the bit mask value for this is 32 for the west and 4 for the east, so it's 36 in total. After making the general setup, it's already possible to drag roads, but as soon as I release the left mouse button, the road should be assigned to the selected hex tiles. And this is not just setting the roads to the current road bit mask, but with a combination of the currently existing and the new bit mask. To find out how a bit mask of a tile should look, you have to go through all the selected hex tiles and compare the previous hex tile with the current one. So let's assume we start a drag operation to the west direction. That means that the new hex tile always have the bit mask for the east set. If the direction still goes on in the west direction, the new previous tile get the west bit set as well, and the current tile gets the east bit set. I guess you now understand how this is going to work. When going through all the tiles, we finally get the bit masks for the whole selection. If we now want to combine an existing road with a new one, we have to use the pipe, the OR operator in C#. By setting the current road with a combination of the current and the new road, we will get the final result. It gets more interesting if there is a possibility to remove existing roads. When removing a connection, you can of course go through all the tiles again and compare its bit mask with the previous tile, like I just mentioned. But it's much quicker if you store connection information in each hex tile. to have it accessible immediately. For this, I created a list of bitmask information with a hex tile and connection reference. When removing a road, you just have to remove the bitmask which has been assigned to this connection on this hex tile, and finally update the current road bitmask again by combining all existing bitmask information. And this is how it looks in action. It gets even more complicated if you want to have active and inactive parts of a road. If you remove a connection but there is an open transport on this connection, the roads should be transparent as an indicator that the road will be deleted after the transport has been completed. I solved that by adding another list for deleted roads, which will also be considered when updating the road with the current bitmask. So in the final function, I calculate the materials for the different directions by the final bitmask. First, I calculate the road type, which is the bitmask of all existing roads for a hex tile. After that, I calculate the deleted road bitmask by going through the list of deleted road types. And then I go through all the single directions to set the color for the road. So by having a look at the northwest road, I check if the current road type or the current selection road type, in case the user is currently dragging a connection in build mode, is equal to the northwest bit. If so, the face for the northwest tile is set to the road color. If not, I do the same check with the deleted road type and the current selection. If this comparison is true, the road will get the inactive road color. If none of the expressions are true, the northwest road is not set and it gets the color of the hex tile grass. When completing the road system, I had to add the connection visibility. By hovering over buildings, you can see the active connections for this building to other buildings. I created a new line shader with a fraction and step node, pretty easy to create, to get a dotted line look. The flow direction for a connection is dependent on the selected building. If a city is connected to a trade building, the flow always goes from the trade to the city, since the transport always goes in this direction as well. For buildings which can have transports in both directions, it depends on which building the player is hovering. Since it doesn't look that cool if the connections have the same color, I set up a color option for each connection type. If you now hover over different connections, it's much easier to see what kind of connections you've already set up. The last problem I faced was overlapping connections. Sometimes it happens that two or more connections overlap, so it was hard or even impossible to recognize that there is a valid connection if you hovered a building. For this, I thought about considering the connection distance. I quickly count the amount of tiles of a connection, since I already stored this information, and set the speed for a connection. And now it's much easier to see that there are two connections. Moreover, I added the possibility to delete a connection or a building. Each building, except for the city, can now be removed. To delete a connection, you have to go to the new delete button to activate the delete mode, and then click on a hex tile which has the delete icon. If you hover over a hex tile which only has one connection, you just delete that, but if you hover over a junction of multiple connections, you delete all of them. To delete a building, you have to remove the connections first, and then you can remove the building as expected. And that's it for this week's Devlog video. As already mentioned, share this video so we will reach the 1K subscribers very soon. Give that video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and to not miss the next Devlog video. Stay healthy and see you next time. Cheers!